Hi all, today it's LittleFaith back here for another video, and today guys, I was playing some more Creatures of Sonaria and I decided to start a fyranili family. And this session was actually pretty realistic, which was fun because it's rare to get realistic sessions in Creatures of Sonaria, and definitely enjoying the recode because in general it is more realistic. So I already had a fyranili grown for this, and I had begun incubating the eggs, placed down a nest. I already had one done, and I was going to wait for all three to hatch my first clutch of children. So I actually did have my first child early, and I introduced myself to them. We were going to go out to go and get some food, but then it started, a thunderstorm came, and luckily it didn't flood. I don't know why. I thought it really only flooded during thunderstorms, and it always flooded, but it didn't even. A good amount of time later, my firstborn child was an adult after they had gone exploring by themselves for quite a while. I had been incubating the eggs, now had 2 ready, and was getting ready for my third to hatch a clutch of 3. Sadly, at the moment, food was very hard to come by, and there was barely any around us. I had resorted to eating rotten food, though I would have to venture much deeper into the desert near the oasis to find food before I inevitably starved. Now finally in the oasis, at about 3% hunger, right before starvation, I had found some food, though I was reluctant to eat it as there was a miju right near it, and I was very concerned about being attacked by it as I could not fend off an adult miju all on my own. A few minutes later, after getting food, I was ready to hatch my next clutch of children. This one would hold 3 eggs and 3 children. I was very excited to be growing my family, and my first child was born. As I introduced myself to my first child, the second child quickly came along to hatch as well. My first child was very excited to have a sibling, and I was excited to continue growing my family. A few minutes later, we went out for food as we were all already hungry, though food would become scarce later as I continued to grow the pack and the family, as this little food source would not be able to assist a large family of fyranilis. Now back in the cave with the nest, I had my third child, though sadly they did leave quickly as they were just mutation hunting and did not actually want to be a part of my family. Now with both my children at the teen stage, we ventured out again to find food, but sadly the food source near us was drained of all its food as it was quite busy around us. Shortly after we found food, though it was not exactly in the best condition for us to eat it, as it was rotten, but it was all we had, and we had to sustain ourselves long enough to last through the flooding. We had to make our way up the mountain quickly or drown in the flood. Sadly though, one of my children had got stuck in the flood behind a rock. We had to wait for them as I would not continue on without one of my children. At this point, we had all made it onto the rocks, luckily safe for now, but we were all beginning to get hungry, and Creatures of Sonaria had one more thing to throw at us. Yes, a blood moon. This was the perfect time for us to hunt, but also the perfect time for us to be hunted. So we waited out the blood moon and the floods until they went down. On top of this rock, we had a fun little moment where we began to roar and do our aggro animations. Luckily now the floods had gone down, but we were all near starvation. To our right, a baby thylakote rested on the top of the peak. I killed it quickly, it unable to run away, and we ate happily, more nourished than we had felt in a long time. Now in the valley below, at the bottom of the mountain, the food had restored. though it was already beginning to get empty. We ate quickly, devouring the entire pot of food. We then went to venture out all the way to the edge of the desert to find more food. We found this Vinru AFK, and I killed it quickly. We then began making our way back to Tundra. I led the group across this narrow ledge. I nearly fell, but me and one of my children made it, though the other one slipped off the edge. I tried to come up with a plan to get them up here, but then I quickly realized that there actually wasn't a way to get up here. I told them to meet us on the other side, hoping that they would be able to make it and that there wasn't some aquatic in the water waiting to eat them. They jumped into the water and we went to the other side. I needed to make sure that both my children made it home safely. Further down the river, there's a little bay for them to come up on. I was hoping that they would have enough stamina to make it all the way here, though I was not entirely sure that they would not drown. Thankfully, one of them was able to make it down the river and onto the shore, though the other one was having issues with his stamina, nearly drowning every time it got into the water. After they rested, they both made it back to the shore, and I was so thankful to have them both safe and sound on dry land again, though they were both pretty hurt. After resting in the nesting cave for a while, an aggressive Nolu moth had approached one of my children from outside. I went to go defend them. We tried to scare off the Nolu moth, though it was not very intimidated by us until I charged at it. Then it flew away, though its radiation was still on and quite hurting us. But after that, the next clutch of eggs was ready. 3 more children to add to the pack, and that would make us have a family of 6. Nested the first one, the new oldest child of this clutch. Just seconds after, the second one hatched from the clutch, both my oldest children excited to have more family members. Right after that, the third one hatched. We were now a full family, and when they were all grown, we'd be a force to be reckoned with. The first few minutes of my new children's life was fun and carefree, though food soon became scarce, as feeding 6 fyranilies was tougher than it seemed. A few minutes later, I went out on my own to hunt this Valmora and Diamentra. The Diamentra could not fly, so it was an easier target for me, though it was much faster than me, but the Valmora came to its rescue, and inevitably costed its life. I went down to where everyone was, and I brought the food to my children. Then that's when something incredible happened. One of them became a glimmer. First mutation in the entire family. Another mealtime for the pack of fyranilies later, and we had invited another fyranili to our pack. It was a baby, though it was not mine, but I treated him as if he was my own. I shortly after had another egg ready and had my 6th child, though this one was an albino child. The next mutation in the family, though sadly they were not actually born into the pack, as our pack was full, a maximum of 6 people, and there was now 7. Though sadly this little one was born at a rather unfortunate time. A thunderstorm had arrived just as it was born, and we had to evacuate the cave to get up the mountain and away from the flooding. This tornado came up the mountain with us as well, trying to escape the floods. It had never been aggressive towards us, despite living close to us for a long time, but we had to turn on it and kill it for food, or risk starvation throughout the family. Sadly, it ended my life, though I was happy with what I accomplished. My life being ended because I was trying to feed my children, as any mother would. But anyways, that is the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I definitely loved making it. I had an amazing group, and these people are all so fun to play with. And I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!